The Failing Writers Podcast. 3 blokes going, I'm really good at writing, but I've just never had the breaks.
Katie, can we stick to the script, please?
I can say what I want, I'm not getting paid.
Well, wasn't last week's episode brilliant?
No, it was rubbish.
It was brilliant. I can't remember what it was. What was last week's again?
It was Beth, wasn't it? Beth
That was
talking
Beth,
about,
that's right.
Oh, no, in that
things-
case, yeah, it was
That
good.
was great.
Yeah, all things
That was brilliant.
Bethy.
Yeah, it was good.
It was brilliant. But we did. I don't know if we should get straight into it because we made a promise, didn't we, that we would do something.
Yeah.
We had a task.
No, we need to ask the question.
So should we go
Bed.
straight into our log lines? Because we were going
We
to
did.
write.
We promised we'd do some log lines, didn't we?
Yeah.
We did promise we'd do some log lines, but we need to ask the question first. Have you written anything?
Oh, that question.
That question. The big question.
Yes. A little bit.
Go on.
Yes.
The book?
Well, yes, a little bit of that. And, do you know what? I've actually been busier than I thought. A little bit of the book, a little bit of log line, and I did an entry for a writer's room
Shush.
for a TV show,
What?
which I sort of saw at the last minute. This thing popped up online saying this TV show called Sorry I Didn't Know. It's like a panel show. It was like an open call for submissions to get, have a week in their writer's room.
Oh, cool.
So I thought, I'll have a go at that.
So what did you have to produce in order to show off your wares?
Yeah, so you had to just do you had to put like a little, why do I want to do this? Which I always think is the hardest question because, the reason I want to do it is just because it'd be something nice to do, but you have to, well, what do they
Make it
want to
sound
hear?
better than that.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Something to do in it, you know.
And also, probably, there's a little bit of you that's like, do I want to do it? I don't know.
Exactly, yeah. I don't really want to do this, but it's somewhere in the meantime, whilst I get to do the things I do want to do. So you have to do why do I want to do this? Tick. Here's a CV, not much on it. Tick. And then you had to write an intro for the host to introduce the show and just 3 jokes.
Just random
That was
jokes.
it. Just jokes about history. So the show is about sort of history, specifically sort of black history. So, yeah. I'd never heard of the show before, but now that I have heard of it, obviously if I do get through, it's one of the best shows that's ever been on whatever channel it's on.
After all the careful research that I've done.
Yeah, exactly.
What's it called
if
again?
not,
What's it called?
Sorry, I didn't know.
Well, you should probably find out, Dave.
I should do, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't know.
Well, it's not your fault, John. You weren't meant to, were you? It's Dave's. Dave should be finding out what it's called.
You should have applied, Tom.
What sort of show is it? Sorry, did you already mention that? Is it?
It's like a panel show.
Oh, it is a panel show. That's what I
it's-
assumed. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit sort of QI-ish sort of thing, but it's mostly sort of centred around black and people of colour history. So it's history with a touch of colour,
Very
I
cool.
think is the
Oh, nice.
strap
it.
line. Yeah, it didn't specifically say that middle-aged white people couldn't
Yeah, I was
enter. So
I mean,
Oh, I-
presumably you want quite a diverse mix
Yeah.
on your writing table, I would have thought.
exactly, yeah. So
I mean, you may not be their top choice, but you
I'd
know.
be amazed. I would be astonished at the complete lack of quality in the rest of the world if I managed to get
Do you
in.
think it helped, Dave, that you saw the
But-
thing last minute and had to kind of pile on for a deadline?
Yeah, it did because I sort of saw that, but there were other things that I wanted to do, and normally I would sort of take a bit of time over it and put way too much thought. Whereas this, I was like, right, I'm just going to do it. So just type it all out in the online entry form. Blah, 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 blah. First thing I come up with, that's what I'm going to do. So yeah, let's see
Good
if
luck, good
that
luck.
is a good idea or not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well done.
Well, got to have a go, ain't you?
Exactly. It was writing, and I
There
did
you go.
some.
It's all good practice. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you?
Cool.
Oh,
Thomas?
Are you asking me?
Did I get in first? Yeah.
I have, yes, I've been tinkering away with my silly little sales book.
Yep.
Just going through the
Motions.
boredom of
yeah.
yeah, just going through the motions, just editing, struggling to take anything out, that kind of thing. But I did hit on a little bit of a follow-up idea.
Oh, yeah.
What had always put me off, really, of doing that was that there's nowhere to go from it. It's kind of a completed, self-contained thing, which I know is ridiculous. That I'm,
And also, you're going to kill him off, so that doesn't
so
help.
you're kind of thinking that there's no sequel, there's no... but then I was thinking, actually, well, why not? And came up with some ideas of sequel books that could be similar but different.
Yeah.
So, because I think everyone would get sick of that main character anyway.
Yeah.
Because he is so kind of OTT. But to kind of mix it up. So you could have...
From the same publisher sort of thing.
Yeah. Like a science book that's just full of half-nonsense science that was meant to be checked by these Oxbridge professors, but they were on holiday, so they never got around to it. So this kind of guy has just written this science book, and it's all a bit...
It's just slipped
all over the
through.
shop.
He's a bit of a conspiracy theorist or something.
Yeah, or maybe like a book on sports coaching, where you've got a similar
like that.
character that's kind of telling you their life story of how to be a great coach, and it's just all this absolutely terrible advice.
Yes.
Or possibly my favourite is a cooking book version of it. So you've kind of got an amalgam of like the hairy bikers, two fat ladies, Nigella, Delia, all these kind of people mixed in.
Yeah.
And this pair of foodies that can't really agree on anything. One of them's all like Jamie Oliver, bish bash bosh, whack it all in there. Oh, lovely, put a bit of that in, get some of that in. And the other one's dead precise and wants it all. And they're just kind of a bit of a clash.
Yes.
And they come up with these horrendous recipes and things that just...
I like that.
Taking traditional cultural recipes and just completely ruining them and insulting different cultures from around the world and just not really. So I think
I like
that.
it.
Actually, bizarrely, gave me like a real. I thought, wow, bloody hell, I will get this one finished then.
Yeah, it's good.
What about
Like, there's a way out.
I like the idea of the sort of sports coach who is constantly saying, if only I'd been taught this when I was a kid, I would definitely be a professional footballer. Now, it's not my fault that I never made it. I was not
would be
taught
a failure,
properly.
wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd just be a constant failure, but somehow kind of grabbing out.
I like that idea, Tom.
Yeah, you could write a lot of drivel on sports psychology as well.
I can write drivel.
The
I can do
mindset.
that.
Yeah.
I can knock that out endlessly.
Drivel
That's
series.
good, Tommy. I like that.
So I mean, we could have so it'd be like the silly little book series.
Yes.
Whatever. Pathetic, silly little book series.
Like it.
So that's what I've been doing.
So you see, but you have effectively eliminated your reason for not doing the one book that you have finished, haven't you? Like that thought of, I shouldn't do this because I can't do anything after it. Well, now you can.
Which is a stupid thought in the first place.
It is
isn't
really.
Honestly, the obstacles we put in our way for no reason whatsoever. But it feels like because I really enjoyed writing it.
Yeah. And that is the key, after all, isn't it?
Some writing is just enjoyable.
Yeah.
And some writing is kind of enjoyable, but it's hard work. And that's fine, because it should be. You know, when it's you got complicated plots and things like that, like with a novel and sort of thing.
Nothing worthwhile is easy, Tom.
There is something nice about just having something you can just splurge into.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also a strange feeling of satisfaction when you overcome an obstacle that was entirely of your creation in the first place.
But for some reason just seemed rock solid and immovable.
Yeah. And in reality, you're only at the same place you were before you invented that obstacle. But somehow it feels as if you've got further down the track.
I've conquered the bloody world, mate, haven't I, there?
Well, get it published, Tom.
The world is my oyster and peanut butter, as will feature in the cooking one. So now, but I mean, the downside of that is I appear to now have 4 or 5 books that I need to write. I don't know how.
Well,
that's kind of...
Get it published.
But are we calling the first one finished?
No, well, it needs finishing. But other than
I
that,
feel like it's been finished
I
for
thought
a
it
while
was-
now.
No, it's finished. I mean, it's not like ready to. It needs going through editing and
Yes,
and
precise
what
editing.
have you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's nothing else to write in it, if that makes sense.
I tell you what I saw the other day was people sort of touting their wares as proofreaders and editors online. Either of you guys ever sort of considered that? So, you get so far in a book and then thinking, I'll send it to an unconnected third party to get a bit of editing and proofreading done.
I actually think that's a brilliant idea. I was listening to a podcast the other day about exactly that it's really worthwhile, especially if you're independently publishing, to send it to, an actual editor. Because obviously if you're publishing yourself, you don't really get anyone going through it carefully and making suggestions. And it's very hard to be objective, isn't it? As we all know. But I think I would definitely do that.
I think
I'm not sure how much use it would be with this book, this kind of format.
Yeah.
Where it's a bit weird and very humour-based and kind of a bit off the wall.
I suppose, but you can put the sort of your terms of engagement down, can't you? And just say to someone, look, all I'm looking for is a completely objective opinion to look for, I don't know, proofing errors and that sort of thing, and just make sure that there are no
and also
just make no sense whatsoever.
I mean, there are obviously proofreaders and editors that work on specific kinds of books as well. So if you look for somebody who deals with little pathetic books, you're
right. Yeah.
There must be some around that work in that genre.
That's it. Yeah.
And
you're probably right.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
So, John, what about you?
Yes, I have been writing. I finally finished the short story that I started.
Is that the short story that kept getting longer?
Yes, it is exactly that. Yeah, it's about 10,000 words, which is still short.
Right.
But
wow.
It's longer than it was originally meant to be.
Uh-huh.
But God, I can't even remember when I started that. I think I started that.
Is this part of the love series?
That's it, exactly that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's another short love story. I mean, it still needs work, but it's finished. Round one is finished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Great.
It's like I'll tell you what it is. It's basically like a love story in fast forward, if you can imagine that. It is. It's the lives of two people. This is going to sound weird. It's the lives of two people seen through the eyes of a forest, if it were possible for a forest to pay attention.
That sounds like a high concept, doesn't it?
It is. It's very high concept, very low-end product is what it is.
Lofty ideas, terrible shortcomings.
Sounds like the kind of thing where you need to get it made for Netflix, but by Scandinavian Netflix or something.
That's right,
Yes.
exactly. I mean, it is classic Rand, I'll be honest with you. But it all came from reading about how trees communicate with each other.
Yeah, through the root system. And
that's right, using these mycorrhizal networks beneath the ground.
they should call it tree mail, shouldn't they? Because it sounds like email, but it's about trees. They're good, that.
But yeah, I got a bit obsessed after reading. I don't know if you might have read the Overstory by Richard Powers.
Oh, is that the one about trees?
That's the one about trees. Yeah, it's all about trees. I was thinking, if trees are able to kind of sense their surroundings in ways that we're, only really just beginning to understand, then maybe if you push that idea as far as it'll go, you could maybe argue that forests aren't just like a group of separate individual trees. They're more like one big interconnected consciousness, if you know what I mean. Get a bit deep here.
A big old brain.
Yeah, exactly, like a big brain. So it's kind of a fantasy in the sense that I don't really believe that trees can think in a way that humans do. But there's definitely more going on there than we realise.
Yeah.
And I thought it'd be an interesting challenge to find a voice for a forest and think about how they would perceive people, presumably like in super quick time, like whizzing around.
I was going to say, and time as well. I was going to say that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it sort of lent itself to a short story. But, it's one of those things, it's like, I sort of got to the end of it and I was just rereading it last night and I genuinely have got no idea if it's any good or not.
It sounds really good.
Does it really?
Does.
Do you think it
actually
does?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
I mean, if it's as good as it sounds like it should be, then yeah.
Did you do a log line for it, John?
I might do a log line for it. I think it might be
A log line, though.
log line.
Another tree joke.
How many?
Another tree joke.
Oh, God.
Oh,
It's too easy.
Oh, Jesus. Leave it out, Tom.
But I was wondering whether to record a little audio book version of it, like I did the other ones. But then I was thinking, I'm not sure I can be bothered because so few people listen to them. But then I thought maybe this is an opportunity to say to our massive listenership, does anyone want to hear it? And if like a certain amount of people come back to me and say, yeah, I wouldn't mind hearing that, then
What's
maybe I could
what's
be
the certain
bribed.
amount? What's the arbitrary
Yeah,
number? For
what's the-
certain
what's the
amount?
number?
What's the threshold? 5, 10,
Maybe
20?
Make it fewer than the
Low.
number of listeners we've got. So-
yeah, very low. I don't know. 10 still feels quite high, but I would do it. Like
nine people say they
nine
want to.
if 9
Yeah.
people get in touch on Twitter or email or
Yeah.
Facebook,
Yeah,
I
anything.
could be bribed.
Just
with a
anything.
little-
Anything. Communicate through the trees if you must.
If you
Send a tree message.
by tree mail
Yeah, tree mail me.
to failingwriterspodcast@gmail.com.
I mean, the sad thing is, if you only need 9, then me and Dave are not interested, so you still need 9. Because that would have made it 7 otherwise.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So you still do need 9.
Yeah, and my family don't count, by the way, because
How
I
No.
many
know my
kids
mum
have you
and
got?
dad
Oh,
listen to
okay,
this.
right, fair enough.
Maybe there's some trees listening.
Yeah,
They would like, they would
Possibly.
like to.
because
get
their
involved.
roots go right under our house.
Yeah.
Oh,
Cool,
yeah.
right,
Or if
everywhere.
someone's
Absolutely
listening to
everywhere.
A
this.
massive lime tree
maybe
outside.
someone's lying in the sun, listening to this on their ear pods,
Yeah.
and they've fallen asleep, and the vibrations are going into the roots of a tree.
Yeah.
So if you're a tree,
Get in touch.
get in touch
Mm-hmm.
and see if you want to be denigrated by John's pathetic description of your communication methods. Well, that is very
That's interesting, that, John. Because I think if you'd have said to me and Dave, hey, just before I tell you what this love story is about, see if you can guess, I don't think we would have done.
No,
Not for a long time.
No, it might have taken a while.
Yeah. That's good.
No.
I think that's a
I'm
good
not
thing.
sure I've got that long left to live that I would ever have guessed. That's where that was going. But it's quite exciting that we've all written something, isn't it?
I tell you, this podcast might be generally rubbish from the outside, but for us, it's kind of working, isn't it?
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
enjoying it, aren't we?
Yeah.
That's the main
Sometimes, yeah.
Well, yeah, get in touch then. If you are listening, get in touch and beg John to read out his tree book.
Yeah.
And how do they do that, Betty?
Well, they
They
can
can email.
they can
at
email.
failing-
Sorry, go ahead, John.
Yeah. No, I was going to say they can email at failingwriterspodcast@gmail.com.
Yes, they can
Is that
do
right?
that, or they can get on Twitter at Failing Writers, or
There you go.
that you can sign up to get updates at our website, failingwriterspodcast.com, which is now.
That's a new thing.
Or you can just wander in the
Yep.
park and gently whisper to the oak tree in the corner.
It'll get to us eventually.
They will communicate.
We'll all hear it in the end.
Oh, here he goes again with his bloody assumptions about human cognition. Yeah. What's that? Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're the most intelligent beings on Earth. Oh, yeah, course you are. Course you are. You silly, hairy, trumpet-eared freak.
So we've done quite a long way of describing the things we've been working on. Maybe it would be a good time now to switch to the short version. So, yeah, log lines. We were going to talk about log lines.
Yeah.
I have done a little bit of research, but only a small
Yeah.
amount. So I looked at a site called screencraft.org, who say apparently a log line should be between 25 and 50 words. If it's if it's shorter than
That
that,
sounds-
it's technically a tagline.
All right. That sounds long. 50 words. Sounds long for a
Well,
log line.
up to 50 words.
Mine's 37, so that's good. I didn't even read that, Dave. Oh, brilliant.
That's
Yeah,
exactly
good,
right,
good, good.
yeah. So too short and
Yeah.
it's a tagline.
Right.
So a
Sounds
tagline
like John's done a
is like sort of
tagline.
pithy.
What an idiot.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Oh.
So tagline is like a sort of pithy advertising message, like in space, no one can hear you scream. It doesn't actually tell you anything about the story, but it's a good message. Whereas a log line should tell you what the thing is about. But if it goes on too long, it basically becomes a synopsis.
Yeah.
Agree.
I think the log line, it's like a truth, isn't it? It's a core truth.
Yeah.
That at any point in your story or the book or whatever, you should be able to look at that and go, yep, that's true. That's right.
Yeah.
It's still doing
Yeah.
that.
And there's a sort of formula to it, isn't there? You need a strong protagonist. They need to have a clear goal and a kind of a reason why it's going to be particularly difficult for that protagonist.
I'm a little bit worried that you two, I just thought this is quite good. It's only 2 sentences. I can just do my homework quickly. You two seem to have kind of done some research. So I'm hoping that somehow,
Yeah.
mine will just fit into these as kind of
I'm
you know
sure
that
it
kind of
will, Tommy.
natural instinct
Yeah,
sort
you
of
know what
thing,
you're
rather
doing.
than
Yeah.
yeah.
You're an advertising kind of guy. You know what you're doing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people mention that there needs to be like what people call the irony of the log line.
Right.
Did you get that bad?
You've done different research to me. Like I
Oh,
said, I
right.
did a limited amount of research.
Go on, explain that. John.
Pretty much centered
There's
around how many words I should be writing down.
Any old words will do.
Yeah, how many?
Just need this amount of words. I think what I think I understand from that is that
Sounds like you got a very
obviously-
firm grasp.
Yeah, very, very firm. Obviously, protagonists need to have some sort of flaw, right?
Yeah.
So the thing that they have to do is directly doing it more difficult because of their flaw, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Right.
So
Okay.
our flawed protagonist wants to do this, but when this thing happens, things that conflict entirely with their way of life happen, and shit gets complicated. That's sort of the
Yes.
idea, I think.
Okay.
So if it's a comedy, you should be able to immediately see where the jokes are coming from. And if it's a
I
drama,
see.
you should be able to see where all the excitement comes from. It's like you know instantly as soon as you read it because you can see where the issue is with that protagonist trying to do this particular thing because it's obviously going to be difficult for them. So example like Jaws would be the police chief who is afraid of the ocean. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
That's the sort of the kind of flaw. And
Yeah.
it just so happens that he looks after an island beach community and, a giant killer
Being
shark starts to
terrorised
attack
by
the islanders, but
a
he
big
has to
shark.
take to the sea to kill it.
So he has to
Yeah.
That's kind
overcome
of
his flaw to
That's
to
it,
win.
exactly. So you've got to see the irony in the flaw.
So
of the
that's
character.
what you should. So you're saying that because I thought that's like a good thing to have in your story, but you're saying that should come through in the log line. Is that what
In
your
a really
research
good
has
log line, that's what I
revealed?
was reading. Like some log lines don't have that, but in order to really
No,
get
mine
where
doesn't.
No, I think it's
Get where
kind
the
of got to have that,
drama
hasn't it?
is or
Yeah.
the conflict is.
You should read a log line and then go, all right, yes, I can see what.
That's
There's
it,
no
yeah.
tease
Yeah.
to it really. There's no kind of like, but I'm not really going to tell you this. It's
Yeah. You should be able to start having ideas straight away
Yeah, that's a
because of
great
the
way
log
of putting
line.
it.
That's it, isn't it?
Do you want 5 minutes to rewrite yours, Dave? Or you all right? Or
I mean, it might take a while now. I have to rewrite the whole.
you got the right number of words, did you? So that's the main.
I did.
Tell me that's
I
the
did.
main
main
thing.
thing.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's the main thing.
Like basically,
yours?
Sorry, I basically did
Sorry,
research.
Bailey, I was just going to say, what is yours on?
Mine is on what I've been calling Spooky War Book.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the main thing. That I've
And
been
has it got a
working
working title yet, by the way?
on. The 11th of the 11th.
Ah, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, is what I think it should be called. So yeah, right. I'll just read out what I've written down, what I've got in
Yeah.
bold here, because I really struggled with this, and I'll sort of tell you why afterwards. But what I came up with was, in the build-up to a small town's Remembrance Day parade, the spirits of the fallen help a bullied young cadet avenge the murder of the Great War's last surviving soldier.
Ooh.
Which I thought sounded quite sort of
Yeah.
dramatic and sounded
Yeah, I
like a
like
good
that.
story. The problem with this whole exercise is that it has highlighted the deficiencies in the actual book that I've written, because I came up with
That's
a good
what it's
log
supposed to
line.
do, yeah.
Yeah, and then I thought, but that's not actually what the book is about. Like all of that, the good bits happen in the last chapter of the book, and now I'm thinking the rest of it is just a bit like waffly.
What happens if you take the protagonist at the beginning of that log line? So who's the main protagonist in it?
It's the bullied young cadet.
So a bullied young cadet. And what do they do? Sorry?
Well,
What are they trying to do? What are they trying to achieve?
what they're trying to achieve is survive and get through to the sort of Remembrance Day parade, but they get bullied, and they're like they have their. Oh God, I don't know.
You probably should know.
I should know, but this is like, even as I'm reading this, I'm thinking there are so many things wrong with the rest of the story that I've got to change. Because I think the exciting part, the good bit of it, is the idea of dead people coming back to life and like helping,
Yeah.
the people in the now.
Yeah, I like that. But you're right, that's like the payoff, isn't it? That's sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
But it has to be about that character, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So he's basically just trying to get through what, one day or like a week on the road.
Yeah,
to,
one day. So it's like the build up
Yeah.
to the parade, but
Yeah,
these terrible people are sort of, I mean, he nearly dies a couple of times.
Yeah. And is he trying to in some way like bring back the dead himself, or that they just happen to, they're kind of watching and seeing what happens to
They're
them?
kind of watching, but like, so basically these bullies steal his cap badges, which he needs for the parade, and he ends up talking to his great gran, who gives him his great uncle's badge from the war, and so he starts to learn about the war stories of his, the other people from that town who died, and he ends up with these badges from two different people, and in the end, like, their sort of spirits come back and help him in the sort of the ending. But I just think there's far too much of the build-up about this kid losing his badges. I feel like everything I've written so far should just be a sort of, opening thing, and then the meat of it is like currently just the last chapter. That should be a much bigger part, I think.
Yeah. Get to the actual, the story.
Yeah, but all the way through, I've been trying to avoid stopping writing what I'm writing until I get to the end, and then I want to get to the end of this, and then I can go back and change these things. But like doing this exercise has made me think about the mega deficiencies in what's come so far, and it's making me really dread the second draft, because I think it will be. I will have to cut a huge amount.
As
out
terrible as that is, that's very good though, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
going to improve.
It's a great
It is
outcome
good,
once it's done.
Yeah.
It's just a bit of a painful.
Yeah. It's a long process, because, like I said, to recap, this is sort of reworking something that my dad had already written.
Yeah, definitely your dad's fault, mate. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, exactly. So
Right.
he should have done
Did
a
he
bloody
even
log
do a
line,
log
shouldn't
line?
he? I don't think he did.
Bloody hell.
Honestly.
So yeah, but that's okay. I think all of these things that make you like, I was just writing that log line. I thought, that sounds good. I'd read that, but I wouldn't read what I've written so far.
But you enjoyed the book that your dad wrote initially.
I did,
So there's
yeah.
got to be something in it,
Yeah.
There's definitely the core of something there. So
Absolutely. It's how to
very
And it
sort
might
of
not.
get
It might be that
across.
log line isn't completely correct in terms of the perspective, the framing of it. Just
No, I don't think it is. I
reframing
don't think
what
it's.
the challenges are of the protagonist
Yeah,
can help.
yeah.
And making that protagonist maybe more active in it as well. That was the big issue with the second book that I wrote. My protagonist had, he's just completely passive.
Stuff happened to
And
him
just-
rather than.
that was
because
it.
of
It was
him,
just, and it was awful because of that.
Yeah.
And it was only really in the writing of it that I realised that.
Yeah.
And that advice is in every single book about writing that you read.
Yeah.
And yet I totally ignored it. Not deliberately.
Until you
but-
got to your library book group, and they laughed you out
Yeah.
of town.
That's it.
But that's the whole point of doing these things, isn't it? Is to try to sort of refocus your mind and.
It's quite interesting though, isn't it? Doing the log line. There's kind of the two things of doing the log line when you've on the finishing stretch of a project is a dangerous thing to do because of that. And it either says yes, you got it right, or you missed some stuff. But it goes to show how important it is to do it up front as well. And be happy,
or just
say
to
yes,
be
it might change as you're writing and things might move a little bit, but there's that kind of. I think you mentioned it the other week, a few weeks back, Dave, about an author that would write 2 or 3 chapters or whatever, and then would do the log line and have that as the kind of the.
Yes.
This is what. So that
was
gets printed out and stuck right in
playwright.
front of them.
Yeah. So everything they do, has to reference or come back to
it's
that.
like
in
I said,
some
it's
way.
a truth, isn't it? So whatever you
Yeah.
refer it back to, you go, yep, that still works. That's the truth.
Yeah. But sometimes, like this, it's good to do an exercise, because I don't think that the log line isn't sort of right. But sometimes it's good to do exercises that not necessarily tell you exactly what you should be doing or what should be there, but helps you to identify what shouldn't be there, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And I think that's what this has done. It's not necessarily like gone, okay, this is what the final object should be, but it certainly told me, okay, it shouldn't be that and it shouldn't be that.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
So it was helpful. Again.
In a
The podcast is
destructive,
helping.
annoying, frustrating way. It was
Yeah.
really helpful.
It's been helpful in creating a lot more work for me. So that's
But in the end, it will produce a better product.
Maybe, almost
Exactly.
maybe it will, yeah. So, there's mine. What about yours? Insert name of next person here.
I did a log line for the show that Katie and I are going to take to Edinburgh.
Oh,
Definitely.
yeah. Cool.
Would you like to hear about that? I had to do a lot of negotiating, by the way, too, because Katie was like, you can't share that one because people will steal our idea
Ah,
and they'll take it to Edinburgh first.
Ah.
I was like, Katie, I don't think you understand how many people listen to this podcast.
Let's be honest, if you're listening to this show as a source of ideas for your writing career, then you should probably just pack up and go home.
So this is it. It's called, the title is The Happy Marriage Show. And the logline is, 2 sanctimonious married psychologists host a live interactive lecture about what it takes to have a successful marriage while their own is falling apart at the seams. Hilarity ensues.
Yeah, that tells a
You can
story.
well, it's
doesn't
that
it?
you can see you can see the conflict.
Yeah.
You can see where the jokes are coming
Think so.
from.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might steal that and do it myself.
Yeah. That's much better than what I had.
Yeah, you shouldn't have told everyone that, John. Someone's going to do that.
But you're right. It's almost as if, John, you've done some research and then followed that research to produce something quite good.
How many words was that though, John? It sounded like it's got the 22, 23 mark. I don't know
What
if that's
was
enough words.
the? I can't remember what it was now. What was the?
I can't remember what we
Should
said
be
the word
between
count.
25 and 50, according to
Might be
screencraft.org.
just shy there, mate. Never mind. Nice try. But yeah, no, I think that works.
Oh, it's 23. I just counted.
Oh,
them.
there we go.
23. I'm just
So-
I bloody guessed that.
Right. In that sense, I'm still winning. No, it sounds good though. It does. Like you can
There's
see
a lot of stuff to be done with it. Yeah,
where that's
yeah,
going.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. And I think the whole sort of TED lecture thing. There's lots of tropes.
Yeah.
You can,
Yes, it's a good format, isn't it?
borrow
To
from that.
pastiche and to kind of
yeah.
run things off. And then you've got
And
the
there's a lot
marital
that can
conflict.
go wrong.
You've got the
Yeah.
2
Yeah.
layers of the outward projection, and then
Yeah.
the inward kind of little glances and glares and
gripes.
stabs and
Yeah,
Yeah. And it's always good when there's people telling other people what to do
Yes,
whilst
I think
not
so.
doing that themselves.
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
marriage is one of those things. I've been reading books about marriage, which has actually been quite useful in some respects. But I've been reading about how to have the perfect marriage. There's so many books out there. But
It's a risky book to write, though, isn't
really,
it?
that's
Like,
exactly what I was going to
Because
say.
if
And
you're
they're often
married,
written by couples, and you just
Yeah.
really want to put a camera in their house and see how they
Yeah.
really get on.
Yeah.
they're just miserable, but they can't get divorced because that would
It'll affect
book
sales.
Yeah.
Massively
Yeah.
affect
Ruin
sales.
their career.
Oh,
I'm going to might add that to my list of sequels to silly little books.
But yeah, I think it's we're having a lot of ideas about it, and I think that's always a good sign if you're
yeah,
coming up with lots of ideas. But yeah,
absolutely.
it's been good. Been enjoying it.
So what's the timescale for that?
In
happening?
terms of getting it actually performed, you mean? Or
performing it. Yeah.
Mm.
Because I'm wondering, is there an outside chance you could actually get divorced before it happens? I mean, an extra layer to it. Because that really would add
wouldn't it?
That'd be good for press
yeah,
releases.
definitely. It would add a frizz-on to the performance, wouldn't it?
You could
Yeah.
get divorced and then get married at the end of it.
It's a sort of PR stunt.
Yeah, get legally
That's
divorced
good.
and then get legally
Yeah.
married.
I'll mention that to Katie after.
Oh, Kate's been talking about divorcing for ages. She's on board with that, mate. Every time I see her, she's like, oh, I'm like, stick with it. But this time, might be the time to press the button.
Yeah,
It will be a good PR stunt, though.
it would.
It would, yeah.
So there.
Brilliant.
Well,
Thanks,
great.
guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds really good. If
Yeah.
only it was like 2 words longer.
And we should also say tickets are still available.
And actually, it doesn't matter when you're
Yeah,
listeing
they
to this.
still will be
Tickets are
available.
almost certainly
it really doesn't.
still
Tickets
available.
are still available.
Great.
Right, Thomas.
Well, I didn't actually do any research. I just thought I'd write some stuff. So I thought while I'm in the process of doing the heavy editing on my
Yeah.
silly little sales book, that would be a good one to do, just to kind of, it's like you say, it's a good
Yeah, it would make sense.
checks and balances thing, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
Check if it's all still true. So here we go. The world's worst sales guru gives what he believes is the best sales training advice ever. He thinks he's an inspirational visionary, but he's just making himself look like a bigoted tit because he's a bigoted tit.
think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
It really,
It's a good
it actually
summation.
gave me quite a, because I was thinking, when I'm going through the editing and I feel like I'm not really taking that much out, because it is all bloody good. It's like really bloody good stuff. So this just confirmed that I am right. It is absolutely shit hot stuff.
Yeah.
It all makes sense. All follows the log line. Bob's your uncle.
There you go. It's finished then, Tom, isn't it?
See you at the top of the New York Times bestsellers list.
Yeah.
But no, it is in the same way that Dave realises he's messed his entire book up. This is like the other side of that, where it's made me feel that I haven't.
You absolutely
Well,
nailed
that's
it.
good. Yes. That's
Thanks.
really
Thanks for
great.
thanks for that
Tom.
heartfelt
How many
solidarity.
words? How many words was that then?
Oh God, you're obsessed with
Just
words.
got to get some little.
That felt like under 50.
This was 37
All right.
or something.
All right.
So kind of in the perfect.
Oh, well under.
Tom wins.
I'm still
In the
thinking
Goldilocks
50's
zone.
too many.
So that's where research gets you, boys. Isn't it?
Highlights your
Yeah.
inefficiencies. Oh well, that was good. That though, Tom.
It came out quite easily as well. So again, that makes you. It's reassuring, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
that. It's a good point.
I think it is. It's the case that the best ideas are just really simple, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like you
Yes.
can just bring them down to, just a couple of very
Yeah.
simple factors.
Yeah. You've got one core. Again, I keep saying it, but it's that one
Yeah.
core truth, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Because mine took. I was moving stuff about and fiddling with it. There was nothing. That sort of just like leapt out and went, "This is what this is about." And I think that's kind of key, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think I am. I'm yet to grasp my truth.
So you're still yet to find
Um,
it, possibly. Yeah.
So, but in that sense, what a great exercise.
You're listening to the Failing Writers Podcast, brought to you in association with Insert Client Name here.
Do you know what I think might be useful, Dave?
What's that?
Is for you to read Take Off Your Pants,
Yeah.
a book that you two forced me to read.
Oh,
Because that's just about sort of the structure of
Yeah.
plotting a book. And lining your stuff up against that will probably, I think, from what you said, there'll be a little gap somewhere that you can kind of go, oh, yeah. And it kind of
Yeah.
just might bring it out into the light of day rather than trying to see it as one big mush of a story that you're trying to,
yeah.
in the same
Well,
way this log line has kind of filtered it out.
Save me the hassle of reading it then, Tom, and give us the summation of that book. We should point out that this was a task we gave you a while back, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah.
And I finally got round to it. It didn't actually take very long to read, which was good because I don't really like reading. So that was nice.
What's it called again?
It's called Take Off Your Pants by Libby Hawker. Outline your
Right.
books for faster, better writing. And it's very much about, I'm sure a lot of people listening will have already read this, but it's very much about writing kind of commercially. So with that in mind, rather than just idly for your own benefit. So it's
Yeah.
about writing very sort of clean, concise storylines that are going to keep people gripped.
Yeah.
And it uses a basic ancient storyline layout,
Yeah.
of which there are a few, but they all kind of conform to the relatively similar arc, don't they?
Yep.
And it's really just about a system of defining each of these very separately. And what was kind of upsetting, worrying, illuminating, was I'd always thought that I was just a really cool, flying by the seat of my pants writer, and whatever, planning. I don't need to plan. I actually do quite a lot of this stuff anyway.
There you go.
So I kind of do. I kind of half got to the
Wow.
as natural. I do half plan.
Well, I think you said in an episode that you're a bit of both in the same way that Queevers that we interviewed.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I guess I am. But it's definitely worth the read, actually.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not a massive fan of books like this often because I think they can be a bit too prescriptive and it's very hard to. People are very different.
Yeah. Can it take the joy out of the process?
Yeah, but I see it. I see this more as a safety net.
Yeah.
Unless you're trying to churn out 15, 20 books a year
Yeah.
to sell them. Do you know what I mean? Like you're just
Yeah.
trying to get them out because that's really what it's designed for, is for, building
Speeding
up a
up the
back
process.
catalogue and writing good fast books that people want to read. But I just think even if you're not of that mindset, it's really good for having a sort of a fallback and a oh right, yep, that will work. Oh God, yeah, I've missed that out.
Almost like a checklist so that you...
Yeah. And I can see why the book's been so popular and it's taken off. It's very easy to kind of see the system, really. So I would give it a 7 out of 10.
Ooh.
What I did find interesting in it, actually, was about the protagonist and the antagonist. She was saying that they both have the same goal.
The same goal?
Oh.
Yeah.
So like the Christ and the
Don't they
Antichrist
have
sort of thing?
totally conflicting goals so that you can't have one without the other?
Well, no, because if you take it an extra step back, and I think while I was reading it, I think I probably thought of a few things that wouldn't work for this. But generally, yeah. So if you take it an extra step back, rather than their immediate what they're trying to do, their overall goal is often the same. So like the Christ and the Antichrist, you would say they are like diametrically opposed, but they both want overall power of the universe.
Okay.
Yeah. Much like Luke and Darth Vader both want to bring balance to the Force, don't they?
Yeah, but you would say they had opposing views in many respects.
That is
That's
interesting.
interesting.
Yeah. An educational read.
Oh, good.
Well,
Do you think it will help in the writing of the book that you're doing at the moment, Tommy? Or you were saying that you kind of do a lot of it anyway. Is there any particular thing that popped out that was like, oh, do you know what? I'll use that.
No, I think literally the clarity of the system in it, I will be using that to replan my novel. Like to use the same stuff that I've already got, but to hang it on the right pegs in the right order on a sheet of paper, rather than a weird flow chart diagram that goes across 1.5 pieces of A4, half of it written in pen, half of it written in pencil, some of it not actually readable, and weird boxes around stuff. So I can see why this is more of a long-term solution.
Betty, do you use the board when you are plotting? Are you like post-its on the wall, index cards or whatever?
I haven't been. I have for this particular project, just as a way to try to pull things together. But I think it's kind of really hard with this because if you're starting something from scratch, then I think that's a very different thing to trying to work with something that already exists in a way.
You've got a really tricky one for that reason.
Yeah, really shouldn't have done this, should I? But
No, because I think actually, once you've found what the core is, what that little diamond is, that in a way that's your job, isn't it?
Well, that was always my hope from doing this was to try. It was always going to be like a learning process. So that once I've done this, when I came to writing my own story, it would just be really easy. I'd just sit down and it would all just fall out because I'd learnt so much. So in that sense, it's quite good. But yeah, I have tried the sort of index cards stuck to the wall, color coded thing, and it can be helpful. But only up to a point.
Yeah.
I think, as Tom said, it's got to be a balance. That can help you put the right things in the right place. But you've got to. It's the stuff that goes in between that actually makes.
I think it's that thing, though, isn't it? There's all this different advice out there about how to plan in depth or not plan in depth or half and half or do this or use cards or use post-it notes on the wall, and then they go, but everyone's got their own way of working, and you just want someone to come up and go, this is your way of working.
Yeah.
Rather than desperately trying to find the easy way for you to do things. What is my way? Tell me? Do I need post-it notes or not?
I think part of the problem is I've got terrible, just awful handwriting. Like really, worse than a child's handwriting. But when I make notes and things, I stick the stuff to the wall and then I look at it and I'm like, I don't know what that says. Yeah, what happens in this particular thing?
Have you thought about any of the software that does that, Dave? Have you tried any of that?
What, typing?
No, that would help, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
There's computers, now, where you can put the words in.
Yeah.
And it makes the words pop up in front of you. You can read it. No, like the novel writing software.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of splits into chapters and this and that and notes on stuff.
No.
That's always just scared me a bit because it's a bit too...
Yeah, I've always...
super planning.
Yeah, well, no. Because I've always thought, if I'm going to sit down at my computer and start writing stuff on the computer, I might as well actually be writing stuff on the computer. Yeah.
There's something nice as well as stepping away. You can't really do that with a computer screen, can you? Stepping away and looking at the bigger picture is really important when you're looking at...
I do like that. I do like that, being able to step back and look at sort of notes and just go, oh, I see.
Yeah.
But, it's different. Horses for courses, etc., etc.
Do you know what book I really enjoyed? I was thinking might be useful.
I'm not reading another one.
That's my one book for the year.
That's where this is. It's Dave's turn next.
I was thinking for Birdie is a book called The Science of Storytelling.
Hang on, wait, you've already given me a book. Don't give me another one.
Yeah.
You're just like some kind of fascist librarian, aren't you? Just like, read this!
I tell you what, we'll talk about it another
one now.
time. But the reason I think it might be good, what's the guy's name? Someone's Store. It'll come to me. He looks at why we tell stories. Like he's starting from scratch. He's looking at this. He's using science basically to try to understand why the human brain is so good at telling stories. And then he takes that information to help you to tell better stories. But it's really good. It's really good at getting to the nub of what it is that fascinates us about stories.
Yeah,
if that
I do
makes
like
sense.
a nub.
It's really. I think it's really good. It's a brilliant read, but it's also
It's like an
fascinating.
essential
'cause it's-
evolutionary thing, though, isn't it?
Sorry, say again, mate.
The story thing, it's like an essential evolutionary thing.
It is. Yeah.
Without a writing system, that's the only way you can actually pass down
Yeah.
beliefs and information and societal rules. And
It's how we make sense of the world, isn't it? It's like dogs perceive the world through smell, and we construct meaning from events, in order to survive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
it's
like
sort
most
of a hangover from our origin.
Most of the sort of archetypes of story, you talked about the sort of, the 7, some people say there's 7 or some people say there's 9 different story ideas. Most of them have a root in mythology in some way.
Yeah,
Greek
that's right.
stories or, they're in the Bible somewhere, that sort of thing.
funny, I was just looking at something about that today on an old WhatsApp chat from a film we went to see with a couple of friends. And we were discussing, it was the 1917,
Oh, yeah.
the one that's the first
Yeah,
World War one that's done in kind of one
shot thing. Yeah.
And it just dawned on me afterwards that I said, is it me, or thinking about it, was 1917 just a reboot of Lord of the Rings? Because if you actually play it side by side in your head, it's actually really close. So then we got in a little discussion about, there's only 7 plots. And my friend said that's under the quest category. And the other friend spelt out all the different ones: Kill the Monster, Rag to Riches, The Quest, There and Back Again, Comedy, Tragedy, and then he said a group of new recruits join a police academy.
Yeah, that's my favourite genre, actually.
Yeah.
Those
I remember that in the Bible.
those are the only plots.
Well, I always liked the apostle who did the sound effects.
Yeah,
Oh,
Jesus was
brilliant.
like, whoa, hold on a minute, there's a tiger. He'd be like, no, it's not a tiger coming. But that wouldn't really work though, would it? Because he's doing all these, he'd be like do the noise of a phone or something, and everyone in the ancient times like, well, what's that noise?
Helicopter, what?
Yeah,
What's
I'd
that
be like,
noise?
"Oh,
What
honestly,
is that? It's just a noise.
Give it
I always
1,000
wondered
years,
about
you'll
that.
howl about this joke.
I know, I wondered about that because for hundreds of thousands of years, humans will have made noises with their mouths, singing and things like that, won't they?
Yeah.
And then kids go around making silly noises.
Yeah.
So they will have made a noise like a trumpet long before trumpets were invented.
Yeah. There would have been people going,
They would have been going around doing
So
that,
why
wouldn't
did
they?
we bother? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. Just at some point, someone must have thought, I'm going to invent an instrument that makes that noise that we already make.
yeah. You think the noise
Just
came
make it slightly
first?
more difficult.
Yeah.
The noise must have come first.
Some kid going around going, hang on a minute. I've just had an idea
Mate,
about
I don't
an
think the noise
internal
came first for
combustion
literally
engine.
everything that's ever been invented, Dave. No. Until you can't invent something until the noise has been made.
I was about to try and do the noise of a toaster then. I decided against it.
Go on. Go on.
It's quite difficult, that, isn't
You
it?
said it now.
Yeah.
Go on.
How many slices?
That was two,
That was-
I think.
that was
wasn't
two
it?
slices.
Yeah,
Is that
yeah,
two?
felt
Oh,
like
I think
two.
you could
yeah.
tell.
And was it on setting number 3?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
it
Very
was
good at that, John.
defrost,
Very
but
good. Very
Thank
good.
you.
yeah, not bad.
Tune in next week for our Guess the Toast.
The toast setting.
Yeah.
I remember I used to practice making sounds. I used to practice doing sounds as a kid. Maybe it was how I ended up doing voices and that sort of thing. But yeah, every time I saw somebody do an interesting new sound on TV, I would have to copy it for ages. I can't, there was one I saw was a guy who did like a noise, and I remember spending hours like trying to work out how to do that and then copying it, and it's never come in useful in any sense. I've never been in a scenario where I've thought, if only I could imitate that noise.
Well,
Maybe
when
my
this
life-
podcast gets recommended to loads of other people because of that noise,
Yeah, you're on a phone call. Then someone utters the line, "We need to pour." If he's going to shoot everyone unless someone pours a drink. No one's got a drink to pour.
Wait a
Thankfully,
minute!
Dave there. Yeah.
I've been waiting for this moment all my life.
any others?
Sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on, Dave. We're assuming you've got a
Well,
repertoire
there was
now.
this other one, which was
Oh, that was a lovely one.
That's very good,
but
Dave. actually.
see, that was a difficult one because I learnt that off Rolf Harris.
Oh, right, okay.
Not like not
Did you learn
personally.
anything
Not
else off Rolf
personally. He
Harris?
didn't. This wasn't like, do you want to see a
Come round
noise
your
I can
house.
make? Yeah. Yeah, troublesome now, isn't it?
So what is
But,
what is that? Is that the sound of like water dripping in a prison cell, or what was the?
It is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. Go on.
I mean, where'd you take it from there, really? Though.
I don't know.
I'm
Sounds.
just trying to think. What can we link to that?
I don't know. It sounds like time for one of those little breaks, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, let's go to
maybe
one
a
of
little.
And then we'll just come back on the other side and pretend that
little
none of it
song.
happened.
Yeah.
If they were the A-team, Tom would be Mr. T, obviously. Dave would be Murdoch. And John would definitely be Hannibal. I mean, he really does love it when a plan comes together. Like, really loves it.
Don't mention sounds again.
No.
Although, do tell us if you learn a new one, Dave.
Yeah. If I come up with any new sounds, I can't remember.
Watching Police Academy must have been really stressful for you as a kid. Then.
I just kind of learn
It's all right
these.
picking up the odd one here and there, but
No,
having them
not
all
that.
kind of all at once must have been like, oh God, I've got so much to do.
Can't come to school today.
I strongly suspect, Betty, you can beatbox, can you?
Oh, no,
Go
not
on.
really. No,
on.
only in a really embarrassing white middle-aged
on.
man
Like a dad.
way.
A dad
yeah.
way. Come on, I really want to hear something now.
I can't. I know.
Just really quickly.
Oh. Mine. I always end up putting silly sound effects in mine. I like a
Well, that's good.
yeah, but
That's a
I
good
like
thing.
a do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do sort of fill in between. But I always wanted to have. I know. I used to like do it in the shower. You can do really good beatboxing in the shower if you just put the shower in front of your mouth.
Oh, yeah, and you got a bit of reverb though as well, haven't you?
Exactly,
That's
yeah.
really-
Mm.
Yeah.
Go on.
Go on then.
Oh,
Go in the
really?
shower.
Yeah, go on.
No, I can't. I've got a pop guard in front of this mic, so it doesn't work.
Well, can't you make the sound of a shower while you do your beatboxing?
Yeah. That's a good idea.
Look, I'll edit that in afterwards. I can't do beatboxing.
Sorry, I'll shut up now. I'll shut up. I really
Yeah.
want to hear it though.
You have done well, Hercules, but your quest is not yet at an end.
You must face one final trial.
But what is the seventh trial of Hercules?
The seventh trial is...
Actually, chaps, I was thinking I could maybe pick my own for the last one.
This is highly irregular, but...
What do you choose?
Well, let me explain it like this.
Bit different, I suppose. Very catchy. Quite like it.
I just feel like I'm covered in human spittle now.
Oh, you need one of these, my friend. It's an ostrich feather umbrella.
Yeah? What do you think? Am I immortal now, or I've got to go and kill my wife and kids?
Oh, I love these guys. The Failing Writers podcast is so great. Is that okay? That felt a bit more convincing, didn't it?
Many years ago, I came up with a theory that I think has yet to be proved untrue, that you can take any popular song from the hit parade
Yeah.
and it can be improved by putting boo boo in it. It works on absolutely anything.
It has to be one in the hit parade. Like it couldn't be like Sandman or something. I feel like that might ruin that song. I don't know.
You say that, but maybe try it in your own spare time. See what
Okay.
happens.
Maybe.
Maybe for next week. I'll.
I think you'll be
Try
surprised.
and find one, yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine all the people.
Boo boo.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. It is interesting.
I think that's a strong word for that little chat we've just had, but it fills some time, doesn't it?
Boxing is one of those.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of those things that that seem like a good idea at the time, but on reflection were awful. I was going to ask you if you've ever anything that you've written which you were convinced was going to be amazing, but then in the end it turned out to be just dreadful. When you look back on it, anything that springs to mind?
Something really promising.
Quite a lot of radio
Something
adverts.
that you wrote and you were convinced was great.
Quite a lot of radio adverts.
Yeah.
But by the time it got to the
lots
point
of
where you realised it wasn't very good, it was already being made. And you had actually sold it on air. And then you just had like 2 weeks of excruciating pain of hearing it on air. And you'd be so glad when the campaign finished. Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's such a fine line though, isn't it? Like stuff that you sort of write thinking that's really dramatic. And anyone hearing that would be just caught up in the emotion of it. But if you're in the wrong mood when you hear it, it can be really funny. And I did that once. I wrote something, and it won some awards, this thing. It was like about bullying. It was about this kid who was being bullied, and he sort of hanged himself in his room. And I played it to someone, and they pissed themselves laughing as they were listening to it. And they were like, that's really good. That's really... I'm like, no, it's not a joke. It's like, but then I couldn't listen to it after that anymore because it just every time I heard, I was like, oh, that is quite funny. But I started trying to write a sitcom years ago, and I was convinced it was great. But all I really had as a starting point was a name, which was Michael Stanforth Grissom, or MSG for short, and he referred to himself as the Enhancer. And that's all I had.
Great log line, that is it, Dave.
Just like monosodium glutamate.
Not really, no. And I struggled for ages trying to hang something around it, and I wrote it, and I thought, this is quite good. And then I read it. It was only like 2 months later, and it was dog shit. It was just absolutely dreadful. It was as bad as you could imagine a sitcom based around a really bad pun name could be.
That was a sitcom that needed a log line more than anything else.
Yeah, not just a name about it.
What was the sitcom about then, Dave?
He was obsessed with consumer sort of watchdog programs. So it's like this this young person who started his own like homemade version of Watchdog, like interviewing local businesses. Because the only thing I could connect with is like she was trying to enhance your life. How would he enhance your life? Like you're doing. And it's just, as I was doing it, I was thinking, this is great. This makes so much sense. And I thought there's a lot of like humour in the idea of a young boy trying to be like, what's her name?
Were you on any
Robinson
kind of
from
medication, Dave, at the time? Because it's got a disjointed kind of dreamlike quality to it. From
I
your
don't know. I
description.
don't know why it was that I was just. I think I just convinced myself that I could make something out of this. And every new idea I had, I just didn't really think about very much and just thought, that's brilliant. Yep, that's the way to go. And then I just read it back as a whole. And I actually finished an episode and read it back and went, oh my God.
This is at the time. You read it back at the time. I went,
awful.
That was.
Yeah, no, this wasn't like I read it back a few years later. This was like about a month after I finished. Yeah. This is just terrible.
I remember you wrote a thing, a thing about zombies attacking some friends in their house.
Yes.
Which I thought was lovely. Really nice idea. It basically got done like 2 years later. Shaun of the Dead effectively was what it was.
It was quite similar, yeah.
That was like a timing thing. It was like, come on, that's just not fair.
I've always wanted to sort of do that story properly, but it kind of, the zombie
sort of
thing
felt
really
like it
took
got
off.
Done,
Yeah.
Damn it.
That was a shame,
It was.
wasn't it? If
So
only
annoying when that happens.
If only I'd been any good at anything back then. But no, I still look back on that one fondly. But just a few things.
No, it was really good. It was good.
Just dreadful. Have you guys never done that? Have you never had anything that you thought?
I need to have a little think about that. With my memory, as you know, not being brilliant, I probably need to just have a bit of a dredge.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything, and I think that's because I just maybe I'm slightly overcritical to start stuff as well.
Yeah.
I mean, like maybe
Like it has to be a very good idea just to get going.
Yeah, to actually bother starting it, which I don't think is a massively healthy thing, really, because it means you don't find stuff that you wouldn't expect.
Well, yeah. Sometimes you've got to explore.
Do you mean because that could have turned into something good, couldn't
Exactly,
it? It wasn't
yeah.
actually
Not
what
the
you
thing
started.
you
with.
Sometimes you've got to explore different
I
paths
think
to
it's-
find something. There are lots of cases of
Yeah.
that where the thing that finally gets released bears no resemblance to how it started, but there's just like a little, we've mentioned it before, a little seed somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And if you don't explore that path,
Yeah,
you'll never
yeah.
find that seed. But I
Yeah.
think our guest next week talks about this, doesn't he? Queeve mentioned the fact that as he's gone through his career, things that he had worked on in the past ended up being sort of pulled into his latest works.
Yeah, kind of like these sort of historical nuggets from work that he's done in the past,
Yeah.
from all kinds of different stuff that just kind of pop up
Yeah.
and go, oh, remember me? And think, oh, yeah, I can use you. And then a different, and it's like the seed of the idea, but the idea goes off in a different
Yeah.
direction than it would have done because of where you are now and what's happening and stuff.
That's
yeah.
it.
I think, but you've got to produce stuff for that to
Yeah.
be the case, haven't
It
you?
feels like he's quite prolific as
very,
well. Like
very.
Yeah.
he's just writing a lot of stuff, isn't
Yeah, a
he?
lot of
Gotta
ideas.
get-
A lot of
yeah.
ideas.
But if you throw enough stuff at the wall, then, some of it's going to stick, isn't it? Which kind of back to where we started, really, is that, part of me feels like I've wasted a lot of time in writing what I've written. But actually, if it leads you towards a final product that's much better, then it's not wasted, is it?
Exactly.
Mm.
And as long as we're enjoying the process,
Exactly, yes.
that is the main thing.
So maybe that's a good time to mention properly that next week we've got an interview with Queeve McDonnell.
And it is a fantastic
coming up on the
interview,
show.
isn't it?
It really is.
It is
really
good.
is.
He's a funny guy.
He is. Ex-stand-up, now writing sort of funny crime dramas.
Funny little
right?
crime books.
Funny little crime books. No, they're excellent. Very good.
Yeah, and it's a fascinating insight into self-publishing world as well. So
Yeah.
stick around, people, and listen into next week. In fact, click the subscribe button right now
Yeah.
to ensure that you
And
don't miss
be
it.
afraid to tell your friends about this podcast. I know you want to keep it to yourself. It's that little gem, it's that special little thing that we've got between each other. But don't be afraid to tell your friends. They need to know too,
It's the kind of thing you can show off to your friends about, though, isn't it? That's what you want to do. You want to go, oh, you've been listening to the Failing Writers? You haven't been listening?
Not heard
Oh, my God. You are kidding, aren't you? Are you serious? Oh, I hate you. Seriously.
yeah.
You are a bad friend.
Don't be the last one in your group of friends. to
There's
have
about 10
heard it.
episodes. Catch up on them, and then you can speak to me again. That's how I'd play it.
Yeah.
They don't even need to be a writer.
I think if there's one thing we've established over the
Just
past
tell everyone.
couple of months, this isn't necessarily just about writing
No.
or being a good writer.
Definitely not about being...
It's about weird little noises Dave
Yeah.
can make. All sorts of things. But yeah.
So, subscribe, sign up to our newsletter at thefailing-writers-podcast.com. Do all of that, and then hear that our exclusive... I can't say exclusive.
We are the only
can I? 'Cause
people
He's probably done other interviews
That
with
are
other
us
people.
that are interviewing him.
Yeah, good point.
No one else that is us
Yes.
is interviewing him.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in that sense,
No one else
No,
will be
in that
playing
sense,
our
that's
interview
exclusive.
with Queeve McDonnell. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is exclusive, yeah. And we've got loads of other interviews coming up. So,
Yeah.
just
Very
stick around.
exciting stuff. And don't forget to try and bribe me with by massaging my ego and getting me to record that story as well, if you want me to. That's the other thing
Yes.
you need to do.
Yes. Please ask John to tell you about his trees.
Otherwise I won't, which may be better. I don't know. Well, we'll see.
I
Lovely.
think that probably wraps it up for this week, doesn't
That'll
it?
do
reckon.
nicely. That'll
thanks,
do
chaps.
nicely.
Yeah.
Birdie, can you do a lightsaber?
Oh, God. Probably not.
That's good.
Right, and now can you do a washing machine in the middle distance?
I don't know. What spin cycle's it on?
It just sounds the same as your lightsaber.
What sound does a Breville make? I don't know. Taking them off, putting them on, twirling them around. People like pants.
Hello.
Hello?
Where's everybody gone?
Sitting on the toilet, squeezing out a log line, working it so hard, cause I need it to be sublime. I hope the reason I'm getting stuck in this process is brown and sticky. It's not just cause the book is bad, but just because it's really tricky.